All right, welcome to A Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, and I'm filming this a day earlier than normal, but when you're seeing this, I'm in New York City with my mother this weekend, and it's very exciting. I get to see some booktubers on Sunday. I'm going to get to meet Jocelyn and Bethany. It's going to be lovely. I'm very excited. We're seeing two musicals, The Sixth and Into the Woods. Into the Woods is a family favorite, and I don't think we've ever gotten to see like a Broadway version of this. My dad did a version when he was a director, choreographer in our local theater area of Cleveland, so I know it very well. I've read the script several times as a kid because I was a theater nerd. But that is to say that I am bringing books because I have long train rides because I'm taking the train from Boston to New York, but I also don't know how much reading time I'm going to get in. But I have been reading awesome things, and unfortunately the momentum has decreased, but that was inevitable. But I did treat myself to trying a chapter of a couple things to try and figure out what do I want to prioritize on my Kindle while I'm on my trip, because I don't foresee myself packing too many physical books with me just because space and things like that. But enough preamble, let's talk about what I have finished. So first, let's talk about Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. And I think this is something that's really good. A solid 4-star for me. I really liked the direction it went. I liked the themes it was focusing on. I think I just had an issue with the climax. And this is one of those rare cases where like the ending does not ruin the book experience for me, but once we left the more slow burn gothic feel of the story and got to the actual like antagonistic force, climax moment, mysteries have been revealed, I was less connected. And I don't know if that was just my headspace or whatever. It just didn't impact me as much as The Echo Wife, but it was still a really solid read. I just wish, like, and I talked about this a lot with Jocelyn because we were buddy reading this. There is just like a force in here, and I'm being really vague, and I wish it had been switched out for something else, because then I think the message could have been even more impactful, because I think it distracted me from the purpose of the story. And I watched, it was one of those the Summerween vlogs that Kayla did at Books and Lala, and I agree that the thing at the end of this I wish was expanded on. Okay, and that's how I can be vague. But for those who have read it, maybe, you'll know. If you want to discuss it with me, let me know. I don't regret owning this or reading this. I think it's a lovely addition to my shelf. And just the descriptions at the beginning of this book are still the things that impact me. Like, normally I'm an endings person. If your ending doesn't work, it doesn't work. But actually I'm okay with this ending. It just wasn't, like, perfect. Like, if this ending was tweaked just a tiny bit, could have been a 4.5, 5-star read. It's that sort of thing. But it's still really solid. One that I finished and it became a 4.5-star read because of its ending was A Strange and Stubborn Endurance. Oh, this was lovely. This is when I want a fantasy romance that must have a plot. Like, if we must have a plot, let it be like this. But I do think I'm predisposed to liking this romance story because it's a romance story surrounding healing. And that is kind of one of my favorite things to look at and inspect in a romance novel. Just like when one of the partners, or maybe even both of them, are struggling and healing and still going through that work and that growth. And that's very prevalent here. I just thought a lot of things in here was done so intentionally, so nuanced. I was a little nervous about the platonic relationship at the beginning because I really loved it, but I didn't want it to fall into harmful tropes, and it truly didn't, and it was great, and I loved it so much. So great platonic relationship, great relationship. Like, the romance was so easy for me to root for in this story. And then the actual intrigue, the political intrigue. I think I caught on pretty early on, like, oh, it's gotta be this, right? Like, when you're trying to solve mysteries. But, like, it made sense why no one else caught on, that it was just me who caught on. Like, it was very much I'm someone who's reading a mystery story, so obviously I'm looking for clues, and, I know the tropes of a mystery book sort of thing, but I don't think it was super obvious, and I think it made sense why people missed it, like the people in our story. And man, it was such, like, a cathartic ending. Like, it's definitely still your romance ending, so it actually is genre romance, I think. It's just that it was not as put a bow on it as I expected or something, and I think I love it more for that. I think I love the messiness of this ending a lot, but I still think it has, the happily ever after that needs to exist with a romance story. I hold that that's here. It's just, it's a messy book, and I love it, and I hope I reread it one day, and this is just such a stunning copy. I love the foil. I love the red and the gold and the black. This is just like, So good. Another new release that I finished was Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun, and it was as fun as I wanted it to be. Just a good time. The audio narration is A+. I don't know, the exploration of becoming comfortable with yourself and making friends and figuring out who your friends are, and it was great. It was a good time. Basically, every review I found were right, and I need a second book. I truly, truly do. Although it did affirm for me that like middle grades just aren't like my 5-star reading experience, but it was really fun. I think I wished it was like a tiny bit shorter, but even then, like, it didn't really linger on things too long. I had a good time. It was really fun. Audio narration, great. Already said that. So now what am I in the middle of? Well, first off, first I'll talk about this real quick because Leslie was very interested in my last video, but in here is Alloy of Law. This is just a hardback book cover that protects your book and comes with a little bookshelf. I got it for my birthday a couple years ago from a coworker. It does collect cat hair like mad, but Alloy of Law is in here because I have like a first edition printing that like I protect at all costs. It's signed, and you can see how few books Sanderson had written at the time of this being published, at least Cosmere books. I think it doesn't include the Arithmetist or the Alcatraz books that he had written at the time. But I'm reading Alloy of Law. We started on sprints last Friday. Thanks everyone who came. It was super fun. And on Monday, we will be discussing this book, and it's been a blast. I'm having the most cozy time rereading this favorite book of mine. Like, oh my goodness, just... it's everything I wanted. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where there is a character, Wayne, who's a very polarizing character. I'm sure we will talk about him at length at the live show. People love him or hate him. There's really, I mean, I'm sure there's actually a camp of ambivalence, but they're not as vocal on the internet, obviously. And I read him and I totally get why it could rub people the wrong way, but I just smile. Like, I think it's just really campy. And on this reread, I'm really seeing how it's kind of, a take on a Western Batman and Robin sort of situation, but I'm envisioning like the 60s version of it that I watched as a kid. So it's really not taking itself seriously. It's a really fun time, and even in it's not taking itself seriously, I do see my characters dealing with heavier internal things. Wax, you find out right in the prologue what he's dealing with, and Wayne, like, he's such an interesting character. Like, I get why not everyone likes him, and I get why not everyone thinks the dialogue is even serviceable in this story, but for me, I find it great. Like, I don't know, my internal narrator has fun with it. We have a good time. It's awesome. So it's cozy. I'm having fun. And so, planning on finishing that hopefully before I go on my trip, but if not, I'll take it with me. It's not a big deal. The next one I'm not as loving as much, unfortunately, and that is The Bone Orchard. I am this far, so over a quarter of the way. I think I'm a third of the way. I'm not hating it, but this is definitely reminding me of a Destroyer of Light or Ancillary Justice, where I appreciated them more than I liked them, which it's okay. It's sometimes good to read those, and I do want to see its end trajectory, but I think part of it is it's political fantasy. I don't think I knew how political this was going to be, but it's political fantasy. And then our main character is very detached for reasons. It makes sense, but I don't like following a detached character. It's not my favorite thing. I don't mind if they're detached to people around them, but this character is literally detached from themselves. Like, in a very unique way. And I do think the world building's interesting in terms of having this world with psychics and how they are managed and handled, and we're seeing, like, literally a changing of the guard in terms of one emperor has died and now we have a new emperor, and what does that do politically? And we're following this all from the perspective of primarily charm and pain. I don't think I've really had other ones, and they are all aspects of the lady. So it's interesting, but I'm also apathetic because in some ways I feel like my main character is apathetic. But I get it, and it is picking up a little bit as I start to see the whole picture, as I've started to get grander world-building intrigue. So I'm hoping this can be a solid 3.5, maybe a low 4-star read. We'll see. I'm definitely not DNFing it because it's the patron buddy read, and I already DNF'd the book that the patrons picked for me to read this month, so I'm not doing that. And it's okay to power through once in a while, and I'm not hating it. If I was hating it, I'd probably ask, like, guys, do I have to? But I'm not hating it. It's just not, like... it's not as good as the other books at the beginning of the month, it's just not as good. And then I'm reading the short story collection, Maria Maria, and I've read 2 stories, and it's really captivating. Like, this author has a writing style that I'm like, yeah, I'll read your story. I don't know where it's going. Oh, it's over? Well, that was a good time. I don't know if this is going to be a 5-star collection, but I think it'll be at least a 4-star collection. we'll see. I'm just really liking how they're playing in the short story space so far. Like, one of them, I think the first one was only one half of a conversation. We have a teacher teaching a class on how to be a bruja, essentially. And you only hear one side, and it's really interesting where that story turns. And then the second one is a story about a wife whose husband just dies and finishing up how he wanted his body to be handled. And it's very interesting. So I haven't read more of this, but I'm intrigued. And it's definitely been a worthy collection. Like, this is definitely someone who I, like, trust to write a short story now. Like, I don't know if I'll love any of this as much as I love Ken Liu or Ted Chiang or some of my other favorite short story authors, but I'm interested, and I'm having a good time. Like, the minute I started reading the first story in this collection, I was just gonna, like, read a couple sentences just to get a flavor of it. I just finished it. I just wanted to continue. The flow was really good for me. So those are, I think, all the things I'm in the middle of. And then I didn't know what to take with me for the trip. So I did for myself a mini, not even try a chapter, because chapters can be 20 pages long. I didn't want to spend 2 hours reading the first chapter of a bunch of books. So I, like, read them until I had an idea of whether or not I was gripped or not. And I did that with a couple books. I did that with We Have Always Been Here. I did that with City of Dusk. And then I did that with Plague Birds. And I did that with Brown Girls in the Ring. And what I decided based off my headspace and those books, because you'll notice the Stardust Thief is not in the stack. That's because I only have the physical version of it, and I don't want to take that on my trip. So I'll just, like, read that when I get back. I have not gotten access to the ebook or the audio for that, whereas a lot of these I actually have audio and ebook versions in addition to having the physical, which is ideal for going on a trip. And I think in order of intrigue, Plague Birds, I mean, this one I've actually only maybe read a page of, and I was just like, oh, there's AI that you are interacting with in your head, and someone is hampering your powers, and, like, it seems like it's sassy banter with this AI, and it's blood AI for some, I don't know. I'm intrigued. What is happening? We're running through a forest. It was nominated for the Nebula, and it seems like it'll be a page turner, which is, I think, kind of what I need after what is a more ponderous book, such as The Bone Orchard or something. So that one's like, I want to try a couple more pages of that and see if that sticks. The next one I was surprised at because I've only heard average reviews, but I think the writing style is just, like, working for me, and the reason I picked it up was for a sci-fi thriller-ish premise, and I think it's delivering on that intrigue so far, and that's We Have Always Been Here. I've only read 8 or 9 pages, but also these pages are full, and it's small font. So I'm gonna say it was 15 pages. I'm kidding. But it felt like a long time, and I just read it until I met a different character. I'm like, okay, we finished the scene, you know, that sort of thing. And yeah, it seems like it's going to be a very claustrophobic thriller story, potentially, and I like the writing. The writing is working for my brain, and that's, like, the big thing. Maybe I won't like the plot, maybe I'll get done with the characters, because I do think the main character is either going to be someone I like watching but don't like, or might get old. I don't know. She's going to be interesting to follow. But there's definitely something amiss. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something that reminded me of, like, Alien or Aliens in a book. So I guess we'll see. Still a lot of trepidation because I know Stephanie didn't really love it, and I know SFF 180 gave it 3 stars. So, like, I don't know where I'll land. But I own this book, and I would like to read it. And by reading the first couple pages, I was like, yeah, I like this writing. So that's intriguing. Like I said, I have the ebook and audio for this. So those are the two of all of that. I also do feel a tiny bit more optimistic about City of Dusk. So maybe if I need, like, a pure fantasy, I might try this. This just feels like run-of-the-mill, multi-POV city fantasy, which is fine. Sometimes I'm really feeling that. That, like, harkens back to my Mistborn days, you know? So there's a chance I would really like this, but also kind of a knock against this, and we'll see. I was reading this, and I was just remembering about the Jasmine Throne, because, like, there's nothing relating them. I was just thinking about the Jasmine Throne while reading this, and so I could just reread the Jasmine Throne, because the Oleander sword's out. So I don't know. But I do own this gorgeous copy, and I didn't hate it. So we'll see, but I don't know. This is, like, 3rd on the list after I did that whole try a chapter situation. And, like, just Brown Girl in the Ring, I was not awake enough. I definitely wasn't. And luckily, unlike the Midnight Robber, where the audiobook was Audible exclusive, this has the audiobook on my library, so I can get the audiobook. And I don't think I'm going to do it on my trip, just because, like, I don't think I have the brain for this. Like, this is going to require some of my brain, I can already tell. This is not a vacation read, so it's not coming with me on the long weekend, but maybe by next Friday reads, I'll have some thoughts on this one. But that's it. That's this update. I'm excited. I'm gonna go try on wedding dresses. I'm gonna go see some musicals. I'm gonna hang out with my mom. I'm gonna go see some bookstores maybe, who knows. We're just gonna have a good time. Gonna eat some good food. I'm gonna be on a train for the first time. Like, not like, a subway train, like a train. I don't think I've ever traveled that way. That should be interesting. But that's it for this one. If you want to leave an emoji, I don't know. We've done bones recently. That seems lame to just do bones again. But I've also done spaceships recently. No, we have to do bones. There's a lot of bones going on here. So we're going to do bones, or you can do a hand because the Bone Orchard has that weird hand and the bones. But otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.